Welcome to a new video. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called, "You Want to Be Called by Your Formal Name?" Years ago, I was working for a university as a secretary for a rather large department. I was told by the chair to call everyone by their first name rather than the formal title. I complied and life went on with me using informal names and am doing the same for me. However, about a year later, I called Dr. So-and-so in the next room to ask a question. I was still respectful but using his first name. Not long after, I received an email. He addressed it to my first name and stated that I needed to call him Dr. So-and-so and not to use his first name. I knew this was a way to establish his superiority over me, but I would not have it. I may have been the secretary, but I was still a human being, who deserved respect too. I wrote him an email back, addressing him as Dr. So-and-so. I agreed to call him by his formal name, but I insisted that he do the same to me. He would have to call me Mrs. Doe. I copied the department chair and executive aide, so all were in the loop. He went to the chair to complain, but she sided with me. And so it began. From then on out, it was Dr. So-and-so on every correspondence, and when I spoke to him, if he addressed me with my first name, I would remind him that I wanted to be addressed as Mrs. Doe and would not answer until he addressed me as such. This really got on his nerve. He did not want to be the only one to call me by the formal, as it messed with his need for superiority over a peon. It only took less than a week before he wrote to me again. This time, it was to say to please call him Paul instead of Dr. So-and-so. No apology to me, just a resounding white flag surrender. I took it as a small win for the peons and proceeded to call him Paul. I worked in that department for 8 years and we never had another problem like this. The next story is called, "No Pay, No Work." I am a postal worker, and after 10 hours, we make penalty time. I think it's double pay. But our bosses never allow us to get it, as in there's no excuse for it. I get loaded up with all of my stuff and get told to take a bunch of extra stuff from another carrier. I work the day and 9 hours and 15 minutes later, I let my boss know I still have 2 hours of stuff to do. They have me meet back up with the carrier I took the stuff from and give it back to them. I came in earlier than they did, by a full 2 hours. I get back to the office, hit penalty time by 1 minute, roll my buggy in, and get told by a person that is not actually a supervisor to punch out immediately. I throw my keys on the dolly we have, and punch out, leaving the buggy in the middle of the floor, piled high with trays and mail, everything. And I am on my way to leave. But the person insists, "Clean up your buggy." Sure, let me punch back in. No, clean it up. Sure, but that's work. I have to be punched in for that. The good thing is that we are union and this is a job duty. No, we'll both get in trouble with the postmaster. I'll happily explain it to them. No pay, no work. Fine, I'll take care of it this time. The third story is called, "No Overtime Anymore." I'm an analyst in a very specific field, working off submissions from various clients, meaning my workload can fluctuate between a few weeks of minimal work and a few months of having 3 times the workload one person can reasonably accomplish in a day. We work relatively independently, with our boss assigning us various clients, and occasionally pulling us off our desks to work on his projects. My boss also has selective workload blindness, wherein he mysteriously forgets about all your existing clients as soon as he needs you to do his project work, which contributes to the bad work weeks being very bad. Consequentially, sometimes I work 40 hours a week, sometimes I work over 50. Our boss' answer to our insane workload is to suggest we sometimes come in an hour early or maybe stay an hour extra, or work through lunch. So, for a few weeks, I did. After a week or 2 of submitting my accurate timesheets where I came in early, took no lunch, and stayed as long as I could after normal working hours, he came into my office and angrily told me that I needed to keep it under 43 hours a week, because anything over that requires special approval from his boss. And he didn't think my current workload justified those hours. In other words, he had to explain to his boss why our department is working 50-hour work weeks just to stay on top of everything. So, I started coming into work exactly on time, taking my time through a luxurious hour lunch break, and leaving promptly at 6. During that time, he also pulled me into several projects of his, on top of my other clients. Every night when I let him know I was leaving, he would look at me with disbelief and remind me of all the outstanding work left on his projects. I cheerfully told him I was approaching my overtime limit and would be happy to continue working on it the next day. After a few weeks of angry client emails, he quietly told me not to worry about my overtime approvals, and to just get the work done. I can't wait to quit this job. The next story is called Paid Drive Time for Zero Work. A couple of years ago we had a minor computer virus outbreak in our branch office. The email came in at 7:30. I hopped in a company car and drove down as soon as possible. I got in the parking lot by 8:30. I started working on the issue and had the affected workstation offline, packaged up in the trunk of my car, and a new workstation in place of where the virus had come from. After all my testing, it was pretty much locked down by 1. I love the 1-hour drive to and from that office. It's 2 hours of paid mess around time. Honestly, have a cigarette, listen to the radio, not dealing with pointless nonsense from my superiors. Just 2 hours of good paid time. Taking that full hour to get back to the office, I get back by 2 and throw the workstation on my desk. 2 hours left in the day. I was going to fix the machine, but then my boss starts shouting at me, "What are you doing? Get in a car and get to the branch office now. They have a severe outbreak." I am someone thrown back. The issue was resolved when I was there. I didn't know what happened. I looked over her shoulder and noticed she hadn't opened her email that day. It was 2:30 and she just now opened her email for the first time. She just now saw that we had a virus in our branch office. She just now thought it was the appropriate time to act as the IT manager and read her emails at 2:30. So another 2 hours of drive time? Getting me over time? 4 hours of total silence throughout the day, without people yelling at me? Sure, just make sure you don't read the follow-up email that is literally one line above the one you just yelled at me for. I got overtime pay because the traffic backed up that afternoon in an area that's already an hour and a half away from my house. It took 3 additional hours to get home. When I came to the office the following day, my boss apologized and said I should have told her it was fixed. I told her I thought it was something I missed. The 5th story is called Customer Wants It Extra Spicy. It's the middle of winter. The weather lately has been a mixture of hail, snow, and rain, with wind cold enough to split your lip. In walk 3 huge men. "Hey, how are you guys doing? The waiter in that area is just getting your table ready. In the meantime, please take a seat on the sofas and here are some menus. If you feel like you are ready to order, you can do so with me at the till." A few minutes go by, then the customer said, "I would like to order the platter dish, but make it extra spicy." "Are you sure? I mean, that's pretty brave. You sure you don't want it just spicy? We eat spicy all the time. We can handle it. Tell him to make it extra spicy." Quote, I make a note on the receipt to have the food extra spicy. About 30 minutes later, a customer comes up to me at the till from the small area, which approximately encompasses 4 small tables of 4, and complains that it's too cold in that area. I find it strange, as we have the heating turned all the way up and also mini heaters at every other table. So I proceed to find out what could be causing the problem. I walk over and the huge guys have their window fully open by their table. Their faces are red, they are sweating profusely but carrying on eating nonetheless. The open window is causing freezing blasts cold air to enter the room. "Could you guys close the window? It's made the room too cold and it's affecting other people's dining experience." "Sorry, it's too hot. The food's too spicy. I told you guys that it might be a little too spicy. We didn't think it would be that spicy." We eventually agreed on having the window a little bit open. They came back a week later and asked for it to be spicy. But not too spicy. God knows the destruction they caused in their own toilets. The next story is called You Get What You Pay For. 10 years ago, I was working as an electrician and one of our largest accounts was a major chain. They were starting to sell the stores as franchises and became increasingly tight on their maintenance budget. I received an assignment in South Miami for the repair of the cooler lights. Apparently a customer got shocked when touching the door. As an emergency call in the evening and had to drive almost 2 hours in rush hour traffic to get there. About 15 minutes from the store, I get a call from my service manager. It goes something like this. "Give me a call once you get there and assess the situation." "Okay, sure. And they're only giving us 4 hours for the job. I hope that doesn't include travel time." 4 hours including travel. Can't go over. Alright, but that doesn't even give me half an hour to work. 4 hours. Can't go over. Fine. I'll give you a call when I get there. I arrived at the store, opened up the cooler door lights and see what needs to be done. A proper fix will take 2 to 3 hours. I call back the service manager. "Hey, this is the issue. It's going to take 2 to 3 hours here. I already told you that you can't go over 4 hours. That's all the customer has given us. That can't be done. What do you want me to do? I already told you. Fix the lights and keep your time to 4 hours. Again, that's not possible. I'm an electrician, not a magician. So you want us to pay you for all your time when we are only going to get paid for 4 hours? Do you expect the company to just eat all of this cost? Get it done and don't bill over 4 hours. You got it, boss. By this time I only had about 15 minutes left of actual time to work. I went in, disconnected the ballast, capped off the wiring and shut off the circuit. Now they had no cooler lights. But at least there was no risk of anyone getting hurt. I got my timesheet signed and left. The next day, I get a call from the service manager. I just got a call about the store last night. Apparently, the lights never got fixed. What happened? Well, I only had half an hour at the store. I didn't have time to replace the ballasts. I continued explaining exactly what was done. Are you serious? You went all the way down there and just turned off the breaker. Now we have to go back under warranty. Go back down there and repair the lights. How long do I have this time? Just fix it properly and let me know when you're done. You got it, boss. I went back down to the store, fixed the lights properly and left. I billed 8 hours since it basically took all day with travel. A full day that I got paid and the company didn't, when I could have just stayed a couple of extra hours to do it right the first time. The service manager never gave me another talk about how long a job will take again. The last story is called, You Are Going to Call the Clients. I work for a software company that started in the mid-80s. Since its inception, they've insisted on obtaining a system information sheet for every machine something gets installed on. They thought it would protect them from people installing on other machines since they have no other verification system of how many licenses are in use. They also attempt to charge a full hour's rate for the few minutes of time it takes to install one of our software packages. I understand their wariness of us getting stuck doing 150 workstations, but the average number of licenses at a client site is 2. The clients pay a regular maintenance fee for support and product updates and are usually very angry when they get a new computer, need one of our programs installed, and then are told they have to fill out paperwork and still have their IT person perform the installation. It's somewhat difficult and requires knowledge of networking and databases. And it's a frequent case where an IT person will charge them to screw it up, and will charge them to fix it. It happened more than once that the IT person or a desperate client trying to do it on their own has messed it up so badly that there was a catastrophic, unrecoverable data loss. It costed us more than a few clients, but the idea that someone might get one over on us by stealing a license is so abhorrent that management remains entrenched in the policy. We end up spending days going back and forth with clients to get pointless paperwork filled out to avoid doing 3 minutes of work. I'm not exaggerating, the software line I support takes under 5 minutes to install even with the database and network complexity. And it's our poor receptionist that gets the brunt of it from the clients. No matter how many times our more technically inclined staff bring up things like terminal services, machine imaging, the fact that our passwords are stored in plain text, internet-published environments and any number of ways clients can easily get around per-seat licensing restrictions, they're not having it. So it happened again yesterday, where a client called in, expecting a quick install on the machine and the receptionist had to explain and send over the paperwork. An irate client called 4 more times over the next couple of days, trying to get a different answer. She was eventually escalated to a manager, who said he'd come down and speak with us about it. But what he told us was to follow procedure. I tried to discuss it with him and a few of the old-timers linked in. A coworker from another team yelled loudly that I don't have the authority to change policy. Why are we spending 2 days and 3 people's time to avoid doing 3 minutes worth of work? It's not 3 minutes and it's not your job to ask. It's your job to do what you're told. Is your name on the building? The receptionist is doing her job. Why aren't you doing yours? I said to the manager, how much time do we waste doing this? How many times has this policy saved us money? The coworker from the other team said, one coworker caught someone using a license without paying at this town. Another coworker found a workstation hiding in an office at another town. And a third coworker found an install left on an old workstation in this town. There were a few seconds of silence, with her smirking with folded arms thinking she's won. Then I said, so 3 times. In 30 years. And all the while, we've been arguing with clients, filing paperwork, combing through paperwork when someone wants to move a workstation, moving files between buildings, having people retrieve paper files from archives. The manager asked, "And what do you suggest we do?" Handle installs as part of their maintenance fee. Switch licensing models, or develop an automated license restriction method in the software. We look stupid right now and the clients don't understand why they have to do this. The coworker from the other team said, "Well, I understand that we don't want people stealing from us perfectly well. And you are going to do your job and call the client and tell them exactly why. And we're going to stand here and listen to you do it. So, I have to call the client, on speaker, so the whole support floor can see me be broken and do what I'm told for her entertainment." The client explains her frustration with the receptionist and says she sent system information sheets back in 2017. I explained that they needed to be filled out for every new workstation and that the receptionist is just doing her job. She asked why a tech company is demanding paperwork for licenses when every other company just has a key or is internet-based. So I told her exactly why, loudly, while making eye contact with my coworker. Because we have technologically inept decision-makers insisting on enforcing a time-consuming and old licensing policy, despite the fact that all the times it's proven useful can be counted on a shop teacher's bad hand. As I said that, the guy across from me burst out laughing so hard that the clients heard it. I looked at him and missed my coworker's initial reaction, and by the time I looked back, she actually just appeared hurt. The manager was looking at me with wide eyes and his mouth open, shaking his head, then turned and followed the coworker. I then received an email to attend a meeting right before the end of business. At the meeting, a smug-looking coworker was waiting for me in a chair across from the manager's desk. The manager said, "We can't have people deliberately embarrassing other employees in front of everyone." I said, "I agree." Her attempt to publicly degrade me was in really poor taste and highly unprofessional. She sat there, mouth agape and vaulting up on the arms of the chair and yelling at the manager, "You're not going to do anything about this? We can't be embarrassing each other here. We have to work together. We all have to do our jobs. Thanks for the meeting." And I walked out. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.